Walk any maximum security yard long enough, and you notice something that doesn't make sense at first. There are men who move through it completely untouched. Not the biggest guys, not the gang leaders. Quiet men. Men who don't look dangerous at all. And the most violent people on that yard leave them completely alone. David Scarbeck spent years tracking the actual data on prison violence. His research found that most yard violence isn't random. It follows a strict set of underground rules. 3 specific rule breaks drive the overwhelming majority of attacks: snitching, stealing, not paying a debt. Avoid all 3, and your odds of getting hit drop significantly. But staying off everyone's radar isn't the same as being protected. Avoiding those 3 things only keeps you out of other people's crosshairs. It doesn't make you untouchable. For that, you need to become an asset to the system itself. Prisons run on restricted movement. Most inmates can't cross into different housing units, wander into administrative areas, or get anywhere near the medical wing without an escort. But the building still has to function. Food has to move. Laundry has to get washed. Trash has to get cleared. So guards rely on specific inmates to do it. Laundry workers crossing between buildings. Chapel clerks handling sign-up sheets that touch every religious group on the compound. Kitchen workers moving through areas most inmates never see. That mobility turns into a strange kind of power nobody officially gave them. Say a gang leader needs a message passed to a different housing unit. He can't go himself. His lieutenants can't go. But the laundry worker can. Every gang knows exactly where that laundry cart is going. Every gang knows who's pushing it. If that man disappears, phones stop moving. Tobacco stops moving. Messages stop moving. Nobody wants to explain to their own people why business suddenly froze because they attacked the wrong inmate. Nobody's doing him a favor. He's simply too useful to lose. The jailhouse lawyer operates on a different kind of value. Take Jerry Rosenberg, for example. He was a famous inmate who taught himself law from a death row cell and eventually won over 200 cases for other inmates from inside prison walls. He's the extreme version of something that exists in almost every facility. An inmate who actually knows the legal system. Someone who can file a grievance against an abusive guard or draft an appeal for a man sitting on a conviction he can't afford to fight from the outside. For a gang leader, a man like that is more useful than muscle. He can tie up the administration in paperwork. He can help guys fight their way out of solitary confinement. He can solve problems violence can't, so he gets protected. Nobody announces it. But if someone tries to extort the lawyer, the problem gets handled by the biggest guys on the tier before the lawyer even realizes it existed. His brain is the asset. Someone else provides the security for free. For the men who don't have mobility or legal knowledge, there's one other path: the chapel. Religious communities inside prison, whether the Nation of Islam, Christian ministries, or other organized groups, operate under an informal truce that most gangs respect. It comes down to pure math. Attack a man who belongs to a tight, organized religious community, and you're not just fighting him. You're triggering his whole group. That's a massive tactical cost that most people running an ongoing prison business aren't willing to pay over one man. But the protection only holds if it's real. If an inmate tries to use the chapel as a hiding place from a gambling debt, the yard finds out instantly. The religious community itself will cast the person out, and the protection disappears the same day. The men who stay safe through this route are the ones who genuinely disengage from everything else. No gambling, no drugs, no yard business. If someone starts talking about something they shouldn't be talking about, they get up and walk away before the conversation goes any further. That's harder than it sounds. Prison has a way of pulling everyone into someone else's problem. Carry a package, hold someone's debt, take a side in an argument. Suddenly you're no longer neutral, you're involved, and once you're back in the game, the rules apply to you again. Monday morning. The yard opens for recreation. Hundreds of men pour out onto the asphalt. The weightlifters head straight for the benches. The gang clusters drift toward the fences. Right through the center of all of it walks a quiet man with a stack of legal folders under his arm. He doesn't look around. He doesn't check who's watching. The crowd moves out of his way without even thinking about it. A new inmate watching from the tier figures, that guy must just be lucky. He's not lucky. He figured out how to make himself too valuable to break. In prison, strength earns respect. Value earns protection. And in a place built entirely on calculated risk, that's the only protection that actually lasts. If that's the kind of thing you want more of, subscribe, because there's a lot more of this hidden logic still worth pulling apart.